It's Isaiah's 13th birthday, and Mark and Eleanor make it one to remember as Claire makes the type of breakthroughs that require to escalate her experiments beyond chimpanzees. So, for the first topic, it's just Claire and what's going on in her household. At this point, she has figured out a way to manipulate the gene which causes immortality or some form of it, which is a major breakthrough for her, but in Peter's mind, it's like, of all the things that make being a vampire trash, why are you focusing on the one thing that makes it worth living for? And because Claire has sacrificed so much of her own life in order to get this far for the sake of Peter being cured, she gets a bit pissed. And because Matthew's the only one who could kind of bridge the gap between them, he talks to Peter, he talks to Claire, and eventually there's reconciliation. But for Claire, even with the reconciliation, it doesn't put away the fact that she still has more work to do. And now with the chimpanzee that she experimented on now having a period because it's getting older, so comes the idea that she needs to escalate things and take on a human. So when it's time for Peter to feed again, she has him turn a human being so that she can start experimenting on a human man turned vampire in order to really get the kind of results that she's looking for. So for the second topic, it's about the Stargaze event 10 years ago, where Eleanor and Peter got turned into a vampire. Now, from what's established, Mark and Elizabeth were not too far away from when the event happened. It's not clear where Claire or even Arthur was when it came to Peter, but because everybody else paired off, Eleanor and Peter were partners in looking at the stars on a telescope. As they're doing that, the vampire that turned them was seemingly just scouting about to see who might have been easy targets, and it seemed that Eleanor and Peter became the targets. And from what was shown, Eleanor is probably the first one attacked and maybe Peter second, and it's not clear if it's because Peter tried to save her, if once he was done with Eleanor, he went after Peter, or what happened, but at least we're finally getting some type of answers on what happened. So the final topic deals with not only Isaiah's birthday, but the events surrounding it. But to begin, let's talk about Isaiah specifically. His birthday is something that everyone gives him something that's major. When it comes to Naomi, she's probably more present than she's often is. And she even gets him a birthday cake, but unfortunately, they misspelled Isaiah's name because, Isaiah's name is spelled a little bit differently than how you would expect. But because Mark is a fabulous cook and even has baking skills, he creates this elaborate cake which it has an outer chocolate shell that melts apart and breaks down, and then there's a cake in the all I'm saying is, in terms of transitioning from 12 to 13, your teen years when things start to get hectic because of hormones and everything, Mark made it so the end of his chapter as a tween was brilliant. And then when it comes to Eleanor, she mostly gives what she always does, and that's consistency, which is what Isaiah really values right now in his life. But being that consistency is something that she's been given thus far, but he also, between his father and mother, know that, consistency with his mom could be like, you're around, but you're not like really there. And then with his dad, it's like, you're consistent in terms of giving me what I need, but not when I want it. He wants to do cuffing when it comes to Eleanor, which, of course, he's 12 going on 13. He's heard things, but he doesn't fully understand the concept. So he approaches Eleanor with this during an unsanctioned sleepover, and she decides she'll do it. Now, whether or not Eleanor understands what cuffing is hard to say, but Mark has a conversation about her making it very clear that you may look physically 12, but you're not. So it's not really appropriate for you to get, emotionally attached to Isaiah in a way that's he possibly might be on the way to. So she recognizes this and understands it, but at the same time, she cares for this kid. So she does a ceremony, which is like a pinky swear. And as they go to sleep, she cuddles him, which, makes for the perfect birthday for him. Now, as they're doing all this, we also watch Mark get closer to Naomi. Now, it's hard to say what Mark's intentions are. In some ways, you can see that maybe he wants just access to a police file, since one of her cases deal with what stuff that he's done, And if he has information on things that she may know, it could allow him to avoid police curiosity. It could also allow him to make sure that he never gets caught. Never mind when it comes to Zeke, that nothing bad comes on him or even Eleanor, considering that she's a vampire, and the last thing that he needs is any type of information on a police database about her. But it can be submitted that he doesn't need to be romantically involved with Naomi in order to get this type of information. She trusts him enough to leave him alone in the room with her computer. The kids are like best friends at this point. So him deciding to kiss her and her not pushing him off could be the sign that there's more to come between them. But again, it's hard to say whether she's past Frank and he's past Elizabeth at this point. Or even the idea that maybe with their kids so close, maybe they can find companionship with each other just so that they could have something as well after sacrificing so much so that their kids can be happy. So the first highlight for us is just Claire escalating her experiments and just the hypocrisy of it all. For most of the time we've known Claire, she has damned her father for doing things that she thought were unethical, yet look at her now. Experimenting on free monkeys, including doing some type of experiment where she's drilling pieces of a monkey's skull off in order to poke around its brain. And now she even had her brother turn somebody who did not ask to be a vampire into one so she could experiment on him in ways that, unlike the monkeys, you can't really try to find some gray area because it doesn't really exist. Never mind, when you think about it, in order to keep this new person alive, that means you're going to either have to have Peter share, or now you have to get two people for them to feed off of. So, as you can see, Claire has gone down the rabbit hole, and it seems like she's only going to go further and further down, and hopefully one day she'll realize that all that Arthur did, all that she might have damned him for doing, she's no better. Once she got put into the situation he's in, she really is no better. I mean, yeah, she's gone farther than him in terms of the tech and science, but in terms of the methods chosen, she's potentially worse than her dad. So the next highlight is Isaiah and his pursuit of cuffing, and the reason why this is a highlight, besides, Isaiah just being this adorable kid and it's very... Let the Right One In is technically dark because, it's about vampires, people getting killed, and drug addicts and everything, but Isaiah exists in this weird space where he's like a beacon of light amongst all this. So him not knowing what cuffing is and then approaching Eleanor with that is just so adorable and cute in a way that, I don't know, it kind of feels like Bree when it comes to Cherish the Day, where sometimes you can get easily lost in all these urban dramas and thinking that we don't get to see black kids in this type of space. Like even Blue when it comes to Queen Sugar, it seems like those type of kids, be it Blue, Bree, or even Isaiah, they're not really the norm. They're exceptions that we see every now and again, and because they're exceptions, you may put them on a big pedestal, but you don't see them in terms of quantity, if that makes sense. So for Isaiah, him innocently asking Eleanor to cuff him, taking note of that he doesn't really have friends, he doesn't seem like he has much in the way of family outside of his mother, it just makes it so you can't help but get emotionally attached to this kid. And adding that he's fully willing to die and become a vampire just to stay with Eleanor, even though he probably understands what that means. It's going to be very interesting to see his development, especially since if he's becoming 13, that means his hormones are going to start kicking. It means emotionally he may want more out of Eleanor than she may be willing or able to give, and it's going to become very curious how the relationship evolves as he gets older and she stays the same. So our on the fence topic for this would be Naomi and Mark together, and the main reason that we're on the fence about it is pretty much because I want better for them romantically. So as much as I understand for Mark that this is a very valuable person for him to get some type of security in his life, particularly when he kills people, that he can kind of make sure that he doesn't get caught, is it wrong to say that I would have preferred Naomi to be with someone who actually romantically cared about her. And then when it comes to Mark, I feel like he's still very much not past whatever happened to Elizabeth that I'm sure he thinks is his fault. So I wouldn't want Naomi having to deal with that kind of baggage. I would rather him get with that girl from the restaurant who, yes, is young and definitely doesn't deserve all the weight of issues that Mark has, but maybe she may have the type of life where she has the capacity for that. Could be like she's going through psychology class and, she has the tools to handle all that Mark is going through. Or, you know, I'm just trying to what I want for these two is the type of joy that's been clearly missing in their lives for a while because they sacrifice so much for the kids to be happy. And while I get that, they can get companionship out of one another by, setting aside whatever red flags they may have or whatever differences they may have. But I don't know. I want more for both of them. I guess it's the too long, don't read version of all I'm trying to say here. Overall, Isaiah's birthday comes with some notable shifts in the relationships he's in and also relationships around him. But as he is joining cuffing season, it seems Claire has finally dispelled the idea that is a line, which is wonderful to see, especially as she starts to more and more become what could be seen as a villain, even though the vampire who changed Peter and Eleanor lurks somewhere in the background.